Have you ever wondered if the self-proclaimed chosen ones have been chosen by themselves? Hey guys, it's John sitting here in my Sit in Love room, which is a lovely, very serene space for me. I come here in the morning and the evening, and I just spend some time being in love, being in the feeling of love, being in the presence of love, and just being present in love. Sitting here this morning with a fabulous mug of John's Show coffee, which makes my day, as it were, as much as sitting in love does. Yeah. I want to talk about this concept of the chosen ones. This is very much a physical world idea. And I say that because here in the physical world, we're managing our fears and anxieties. We're experiencing our separation from source through our fears and anxieties. And when you look at the world from the perspective of wanting to feel loved, wanting to feel that connection with the divine, to put yourself listed out as a chosen one is to say someone isn't chosen, is to say someone is less than. It's a way of making yourself feel like you're more important, or that you have something that someone else does, or a way of making yourself feel powerful. In ancient texts, the chosen people, that comes out of the Old Testament and the Torah, they are the chosen people. When in the modern New Age, you've got the ones who are ascending to 5D, or they've been chosen to be raptured, or there's this elite ideology that there's a certain group of people who are better than another group of people and are going to be lifted up into something greater. This ideology is less about actual spiritual growth and more about the idea of getting on the right bus. I had a guy one time who was very adamant that he wanted to save me so that I could, be raptured and move on. And I said to him, according to the rapture concept, there's only 144,000 souls that are being raptured. And in this world of 8 billion people, if you get me raptured, I may take your seat. He didn't like that way of thinking. But the idea of this is that there's nobody on this earth that's more or less worthy than any other. There's nobody on this earth that has been chosen to be singled out to be better. Because in my personal opinion, there's no hierarchy in God, and that we're all part of God, and there's no part of God that's any more or less worthy than any other part of God. You tell me, what part of God is not worthy? And when you look at it from that perspective, you start to realize that there can't be a chosen, there can't be a certain group without the ideologies of religion or New Age dogmas. And when you look at it from that ideology perspective, you suddenly realize that the individual ideologies are a separation from God. They're a delineation from God, because if you're the chosen, that means somebody else isn't. And if somebody else isn't, that means that they are, without a doubt, less than you. And so the question I wanted to ask is, are the chosen really just being narcissistic? What is narcissism? What is narcissism? In the word ego, which most people get wrong, they think the word narcissism means ego. They have ego, right? Now, the word ego means awareness of self, awareness of your personal identity, and awareness of the threats to and from the personal identity. It's just basically the awareness of self. An empathic person is so aware of others they forget themselves or they lose themselves. And a narcissistic person is so aware of themselves they negate others. The concept of being chosen or being one of the special elite who are going to ascend during the 5D or any of these ideologies that are out there is absolutely focused on the self and not focused on everyone, humanity. It's not loving one another, it's loving oneself. And when you look at it from that perspective, you start to realize that if God is love, then you're not loving someone is literally negating God from certain folks in the world. Joshua left one commandment, love one another. He never said, love one another if you're one of the select few. He never said anything of delineation like that. He never set it off as a way of making one person better than the other. He worked with the lepers. He worked with the Roman soldier. He talked to the Samaritan woman at the well. There was no delineation as one being better or worse than the other. It was always about simply loving one another. And this idea of being chosen is absolutely about making yourself feel better, making yourself feel more powerful, making yourself feel as if you've got something above someone else, that you're closer to God. And that in itself falls right into the definition of narcissism, because you are thinking of yourself over others. When you think of it that way, you start to realize that if you want to be more loving, if you want to be more caring, if you want to deliver God to the world, you've got to let go of the idea of the hierarchies or the chosen, or the ones who are going to go to the next level, or the ones who are going to be raptured, or any of these ideas that delineate people into categories or broad generalities has to be removed to experience your personal oneness with God. And my mom told me that spirituality is a personal journey. Each one of us is on our own personal journey. But if your personal journey is excluding others from having theirs, or going to the next level, which I don't believe in levels in any way, shape, or form. If there are levels, I think it's levels of awareness as opposed to these hierarchical levels that we have to reach. I think it's a matter of us eradicating our fear, as the Buddha said. The Buddha said the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. It's a matter of us separating us out and coming back to our pure love, because fear is the illusion of its absence. When you start creating delineations of chosen, or those who will be raptured, or all those things, you're actually creating a fear-based ideology. I'm afraid I'm not going to be raptured. I'm afraid I'm not going to be chosen. I'm afraid I'm not going to be one of the ones who elevates to the 5D. I'm afraid. The secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. The Sufis said that God's on one side of the veil and we're on the other side of the veil, and our life is the struggle against the veil. The veil is our fear. But our life is the struggle against the veil, which is our fear. And when someone's eliciting fears by saying, I'm chosen and you're not going to make it, or look at me, I'm special, you're not actually delivering love. You're actually having an ambition to excel past others. And when I look at it from that perspective, I find it kind of sad that people will separate themselves out as somebody who's going to go to the next level and others aren't, because they're choosing to believe in a hierarchical system that is unloving. Because, you lift everyone up, carry everyone up. And we're in this world to experience our life through our separation. And when you look at it from that idea, that idea of going to that next level is really about feeling safe that you're going to make it. It's about giving yourself a story to buy into that says that you're going to be one of the chosen. You're going to be one of the ones. Another thing is this concept of separating yourself. The people who are the chosen ones are claiming to have special knowledge of divine truths. They use spirituality as a tool for superiority. I am a chosen one. I am the next level. They usually try to find people to follow them, or they try to, as a chosen one, they're usually trying to bring their friends along or whatever. They're trying to create a system where they are in a hierarchical structure in their social group, and they're trying to put themselves up as a higher vibrational being. They'll often use that term. Mainly to put themselves in a position of authority in their social sector. Oftentimes, the chosen will say anybody who criticizes them or says anything that's antithetical to what they want to believe, they'll dismiss them as lower vibrational people, or if you're into Christianity, speaking with demons, or speaking for Satan, or being swayed away. All of these are narcissistic attacks to say you're less than me, you're lower than me, you're evil. Those are all the idea of if you don't believe the same as I do, I'm going to knock you down as far as I can. Totally unloving. Lower vibrational being is putting yourself above others, and that's not being equal. Joshua washed his disciples' feet to show he was no better than they. That washing the disciples' feet was a hugely powerful moment because he was literally saying, we're equals. And when you start to delineate yourself out as someone who is a higher vibration, you're actually literally negating love, and you're negating your very essence, and you're actually succumbing to fear. The other thing this idea of the chosen does is it puts others into an inferiority complex. You're sharing with them. If they believe that truth, that you're higher than them or you're a higher vibrational energy than them, what are you doing to them? You are literally damaging their own lives. You're literally telling them that they're not worthy. It's like my father used to call me the worthless bum, and that affected my life for years. The worthless bum, right? You're a lower energy person. You're not chosen. You're not going to be raptured. You're actually perpetuating fear for your own gain, for your own feeling of superiority. And that concept of chosen, meaning somebody who has been set apart, I think it's actually narcissism in disguise. And I think it's detrimental and damaging to the people around you. Other thing it does is for those people who have fallen victim to the rhetoric that they're a lower vibrational being than this chosen one, they also are more susceptible to being manipulated by the person who's chosen or the person who's in greater spiritual awareness, right? And I think spiritual awareness is right where you should be. The other day, I had someone on the comments in the video say something like, ever since I spiritually awakened, I can't stand being around these lower vibrational beings. Well, that's a completely narcissistic statement. That's narcissism at its finest. I can't stand to be around those lower vibrational beings. He's separating himself out because he doesn't want to be in the world. He's creating an experience where he's better than the world and the people around him. It's not about love. It's not about compassion. It's about, I don't want to be around those people. And, it really is just narcissism at its finest. And when you look at it from that perspective, you start to realize that, he's not a higher vibrational being, right? He's just someone who's succumbing to his own fears of being powerless and making himself feel better by saying he's spiritually awakened and everybody's not. That is detrimental to the people around him, and it's not helpful for him because he himself is saying, I'm separating myself from the people of the world. Love one another does not mean separate yourself from them. That's absolutely a narcissistic tendency. The other thing is when you look at the spiritual teachings, and I often talk about how I read all the texts with my love goggles on, new age, old age. If it's talking love and compassion and raising your fellow humans up, I'm all in for it. I find truth in all of them. But when you start claiming this idea of being separate and being better than and higher vibrational and being the ones who's going to be chosen and everybody else going to left behind, going to suffer, that's what I think the 5D is. It's the new age version of the rapture. It literally is just saying, we're going to elevate and you're going to be left behind. To me, that's totally antithetical to what God is for me. But when you look at the teachings that come from love, you're finding very quickly that this concept of the chosen, this concept of the people who are of a higher vibration, these concepts are all about exclusion, and they're detrimental to the actual universal teachings that are found in all of them. So it comes back to you, once again, separating yourself, but also going against what the spiritual texts all agree on. When you find agreement in all of them, then you find that has got to be a universal truth. They all talk about loving one another. They all talk about treating your neighbor as you would want yourself to be treated. They all talk about charity. They all talk about just simply doing good deeds. The chosen is none of those. The higher vibration is none of those. These are concepts of the mind of man focused totally on the self. And when I say go within, I'm not talking about exclude without. I'm like go within. If you'll find the pathway within to love and compassion and joy and loving your fellow man and living gloriously in diversity, looking at the differences as beautiful as opposed to a threat. These concepts are lost when you have the chosen, when you have the idea that I'm going to be a higher vibrational than you are. And when someone tells me that they're a higher vibrational, my initial thought is, I love you, but you're kind of lost in your narcissism. Because if they're telling me that they're the higher vibrational, I had somebody one time on one of my videos literally tell me that he knows more about why I'm here than I do, why I'm here. He was telling me, he was trying to knock me to a place where he was the spiritual authority. It's happened a couple of times. I had a famous author do the same thing to me in Egypt. And it makes me just kind of go, that person is really lost in their own story, their own narcissism, the story they're telling themselves. And they're not being loving or caring. Or on that trip to Egypt, when that narcissist was really getting harsh on me, and he made my wife cry the whole time we were there. At one point, we all sat down to talk, and there was several rocks. We're on the Giza Plateau. There were several rocks, and he ran over and got the tallest rock so he could be above. And there was 4 of us. So I ran over, and he sat on the tallest rock. I sat on the smallest rock, the shortest rock, because I'm not going to in any way, shape, or form fight him for his position of power, because that would be narcissism myself. I was the more powerful person in that moment because I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid of somebody being. And now, is that narcissism? I think I was more powerful? No, I just think he was more afraid. I was not afraid at all. And I think that all of us are equal. And in that moment, he was experiencing his separation from love by being, saying he was more powerful and saying he was the one who knew. He also had another story that was involved that really kind of really upset him when my wife showed up. Let me show you that. Just say that. But it's that idea of spiritual narcissism, setting yourself apart to be something different, something better, something more spiritual, more close to God. You can't be more close to something that you're part of. You're part of it. You're one with God. So this idea of that I'm chosen, or I'm closer to God, or my higher vibration is closer to the source, that's just spiritual narcissism, in my personal opinion. And when you look at it from that perspective, you find very quickly that you can just be love and not even have to deal with any of those ideas. I think that since we all are on our own personal journey, we come to that moment with humility, come to that moment with the idea that you're willing to learn. I love talking to people about their spiritual beliefs, but what happens a lot of times is they'll tell you your belief. Oh, that's really interesting. This is what I believe, and that's when the struggle comes in, because they'll start to say, "Well, you're wrong." Well, I didn't say they were wrong. I said that's interesting. This is what I believe. I truly believe we're all on our own spiritual journey, and that if that person is a loving, caring person, then I think they found their way to God. And I think that when someone says you're wrong, or I'm chosen, or I'm a higher vibrational being than you, I think it really is just simply about narcissism, because it's about themselves as opposed to being love. I think it's important to encourage people to find their own way and to be loving and caring. I think it's important to be the example of loving and caring. I love the fact that I have the opportunity to occasionally do something kind for someone. I love the fact that I have the ability to pack up, food and clothing and take it to a homeless shelter. I love the fact that I have the ability to find my friend who is having a disability and helping him find his ability. I think it's a matter of that being a part of who we all are. And when you delineate yourself as chosen, you're just putting yourself above others. And that's not doing those things of love and compassion. So why do people become the chosen? They become the chosen because in the past, something made them feel less powerful. They're trying to find a soapbox to stand on or a stage to be recognized on. The idea of being the chosen is because they're in a world that they don't like and they're trying to escape this world. Oftentimes they're the chosen because they simply need to feel powerful. They simply need to put people beneath them so that they feel better. But if they would just stop and say, why don't I feel good now? Why don't I feel that I'm one with God here and now and that I need to become a chosen to be something else? What they're actually saying is, I am lost. I'm in fear. I'm in anxiety. I'm stressing out. They're not acknowledging that they have the power in the now. You know, you can't do anything yesterday. You can't do anything tomorrow. Every experience you've ever had will happen and has happened in the now. It's in your present moment. We never leave the present moment. To sit in the present moment and saying, I'm one of the chosen, is to literally take this moment and waste it on not loving others. And to me, when I look at this concept of the chosen, I think it's really kind of an interesting argument. Now, you know, there's the TV show The Chosen, which is about, you know, Jesus of the time, you know, and that's produced by Mormons who are very much pushing a messianic agenda, which would put Jesus above everybody, right? But greater works than I have done you will do, washing the disciples' feet. Ye are gods. The kingdom of heaven is within you. It's not about being higher or better or greater. It's about being equal to and exposing the people to the idea that they are divine already and that they're already connected to God, because kingdom of heaven's within you. You know, bring the kingdom of heaven to earth. Bring it here and now. That's how you do it. You be loving and caring in the present moment. It's not about being chosen or rising to another level or any of those things. Those are the dogmas of the old age and the new age ideologies. In reality, in my opinion, it literally is just about living in the now and being loving and caring. Go out and smile at somebody. Go out and help someone carry their groceries. You know, for myself, I have this wonderful son. Every so often, I'll just hop on and buy him something, or the other day, I called him up. I said, hey, I'm going to come over and let's go out to dinner. Just going and doing and being and sharing and loving and caring. If you do those things, guess what? You're part of the chosen, because we're all chosen. There's not one person less than any other. But when you are literally living into that loving expression and showing that loving expression, you're being that loving expression in the here and now. And that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See you. Bye.